Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What the Ref, our podcast about everybody's favourite research excellence assessment framework. I'm Gemma.
I'm James.
And I'm Lyndsey.
Welcome back to James. It seems that many of our listeners were concerned that you had been gone and buried. Welcome back, James. And we're going to ask you what the ref has been happening this week.
Well, I haven't been away long, and ultimately it was just because there was a leak over my desk, which meant that I had a weird setup in my office, which meant it was hard to come on the pod. But yeah, it's good to be back. What's been happening this week? I guess the big thing is that Researchfish is going. And although that's not kind of specific to ref, it's a kind of thing where I guess, what's the polite way of putting it? Not many people are going to be sad.
No, I think you're right. I think that Researchfish going, can I say it? Hook, line and sinker is actually perhaps really relevant to our conversations about research culture. Obviously, Researchfish has been embroiled with Researchfishgate in 2022 when somebody asked a quite innocent question, what is Researchfish? And it, had a really, really big follow-on effect about how researchers felt under security or perhaps being observed by Researchfish and their funders and their organization. It very much upsetted that relationship, especially in the wake of the COVID pandemic. So we're all very sensitive at that point. As you said, I don't think anybody's going to be upset.
No, I mean, I have a kind of thing in my diary that's sort of like Researchfish window opens every year. And I do it as a kind of mock celebration in my team because I feel like I've been doing it for the last sort of 5 or 6 years. But I guess that one of the things I would reflect on is that like a bureaucratic exercise that does force people to write things down that have happened as a result of their work, often things that are not to do with research outputs. So there is a space here potentially to build something better the community drives that is more authentic to what we do, that maybe could replace it, that actually might fit quite well with the agenda of what the Hidden Ref's been working on, right?
It's a very interesting question to ask, to what extent Researchfish captured non-traditional outputs, considering the traditional outputs were really, seen as something to do with scientific excellence. And Researchfish was talking about impact and engagement. So it's a very interesting question to see what's going to happen. But with Researchfish going, I guess the question everyone wants to ask is, where is that data going to? I just got my Researchfish application saying you need to fill it in this year, and I'm not really quite sure what the point is, considering the due date is literally a couple of months before it's closed down for good. So it's interesting to see. But again...
Well, hasn't it got 18 months?
I was wondering that. It does say July 2027. I was wondering whether people are going to still be using it or just...
Gemma's in the future. Gemma's in the future. That's
I just got my invitation last week saying you now have to put your stuff into Researchfish. And even if I do it now, if it's only going to be in the system to 18 months and I don't know what's going to happen to that data afterwards, I'm wondering... It's very, very burdensome. So I'm just wondering what's the point? I'll do it because I'm a good little girl, but I will not necessarily... There are serious questions about what the point is.
Well, I guess the big thing will be if they still ask us to do it this time next year, we'll definitely wonder what the point is. So let's wait and see.
Let's wait and see.
Listeners would have heard a little voice in there. Lyndsey's here.
Hello, Lyndsey. Welcome. For those ones who haven't met our wonderful Lyndsey Ballantyne, I'll get her to introduce herself. But just to say, she's a valuable member of the Hidden Ref team, and we're so happy to have her on the podcast this time. Lyndsey, do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
I mean, I couldn't introduce myself better than what you just did, Gemma. But yes, I am Lyndsey Ballantyne. My official title is Senior Community Manager at the University of Southampton. So I have luckily been on the Hidden Ref committee for almost 3 years. At the start of that 3 years, I was actually half looking after kind of Hidden Ref community and then a whole other community you might have heard of through the Society of Research Software Engineering. And when we got our funding for Hidden Ref earlier this year, I had the option of, what do you want to do? Do you want to do Hidden Ref? Do you want to still do RSE? And for me, whilst it was a hard decision, it was kind of easy because there's much more work to do, I believe, in the Hidden Ref space. And it's a bit more exciting. It's kind of a lot more new. And hopefully I can do it some justice.
So what you're saying is we won.
Mm-hmm.
We won.
Who won? The Hidden Ref, sorry.
Yeah.
I realised
because of our fabulous personalities, right, Lyndsey?
Yeah, I then realised that I've said half of it. The Hidden Ref won. I decided to go with Hidden Ref. So technically full-time Hidden Ref, but I am still a trustee of the Society of RSE. I'm one of those people who, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and you sign up for a trusteeship for 3 years, and that's ongoing until September this year. So I will fulfill my promise over there, and then Hidden Ref can get another 20% of me back.
Yeah. And one of those promises was coming on the pod, which I think we talked about at some point around the festival last year. Mm-hmm. And Lyndsey was like, oh, yeah, I'll come on the podcast. And then we kind of put it off. So you're honouring your commitment to come on this as well. So, yeah.
I am. I think
but for
it was
a really
twice
good reason,
before
right?
I was going to go on. And after the festival, I actually had a very long-awaited family holiday. So I'm not sorry to have missed it, because it was something that needed to be done. But finally.
Very much deserved family holiday too. So to basically, package how important Lyndsey is to the Hidden Ref movement. She has the unenviable task of keeping us all in order, which of course is also very exhausting. So when she and James finished putting the festival together, basically putting all of their ducks in a row, we're the ducks, by the way, and herding the cats, which I guess we could be called cats as well. Obviously, she deserved a big holiday, but we are forever grateful that she is with us and joining us here today. Another thing that Lyndsey is in charge of, which happened this week, is the community call. Lyndsey, tell us about the community call this week.
Well, the community call, it's something that we've actually been speaking about for probably around a year, maybe even before then. So the one that we had on Tuesday this week was the first ever community call. And of course, we had discussions about what to do with it, and we all had our own opinions on how we should do it. And then we came to a decision on what we were going to do, and then we will just try it, see how it goes, learn some lessons, and then change it for next time, which is precisely what happened. And I think the plan that we ended up coming up with in the end was probably the best one that we could do, because we don't have too many tweaks that we're going to make for the next one.
And as ever, when you do these things like community calls, right, you're not sure who's going to come. But Lyndsey, how many people came?
Yes, it was a bit nerve-wracking. So I tried to do that thing that was easier for the attendees and not ask them to sign up. But that meant that was very nerve-wracking for us in the background. We ended up having over 60 people that joined. There was a little bit of a drop-off once we then went over the definite plan of what we were doing for the day. And in hindsight, when you're going to plan a thing and tell people to come along and do something, you should really tell them what to expect. So I think at the point that we told people we're going to put you into breakout rooms to discuss these things, that's not what they were expecting, and they probably dropped off. So one of the lessons learned, be more clear on what the actual plan is. But yeah, over 60 people came along. Now the audience, I thought it was quite interesting. We asked people in our shared document to write out who they were, where they were from, sort of thing. And it heavily skewed towards people that are more on the enabling, shaping and supporting research rather than the traditional academic type roles. I wasn't personally surprised by that outcome. What do you guys think? Is that who you would have expected to come along?
Well, I had 4 people in my breakout room, and to guide along the conversation, I had 4 very distinct people, which I think made it really interesting. The purpose of the community call is to provide a platform for basically sourcing a broad range of ideas, opinions, and, attitudes towards the ref, and especially through the lens of non-traditionally submitted outputs. And so it creates a platform that I think is very important for people to learn from each other, but also to demystify perhaps some of the things that are happening in the ref. So in my breakout room, I had 4 different people from, overseas. We had someone from India, but we had someone from London, and we had someone from the north, and without giving away names or ideas, because it is a safe space. There was a lot of, we want to be recognized by the ref, and there's a lot of ideas that, being included in a ref submission is a proxy for recognition and therefore value. And even though that's not necessarily the case, nor was the intention of the Research Excellence Framework. And in fact, the changes that were made from 2021 to 2029 were trying to, decouple that link between individual feelings of value and research value and the unit of assessment submission of an institution. That is still very much ingrained into the psyche and how people approach the ref. And that very much came out in my focus group as well. But it was good to have that platform. It was good to have to talk. And also, you're in this space a lot and you do this podcast every 2 weeks or so, and you read the ref guidance and you're involved in the commentaries, and it's very, very easy to forget that there is still a lot of misinformation out there, and there's still a lot of feeling around the ref out there that is not necessarily reflected in the guidance or in the intentions of the ref, but it is felt on an individual and therefore on small group levels. And they can actually be, quite insidious in terms of research culture. And it's really good to have that platform so that we can, keep an eye on that, keep that tempered, and also, eliminate or straighten people opinions about the ref out, or their preoccupations about the ref really as we go along. What about you, Lyndsey?
Well, yeah, I agree with that. There's so much information out there about the ref. I mean, what did you say in one of the first podcasts? That it would take you 11 days to read the guidance.
Yeah.
So people, they still know things from previous ref. There's the changes to this one. There's things that people are doing well. There's things that people are doing poor. And there's just so much information for them to try and get. So I think it is important to have these community calls. So you get people together so they can actually just come out, have a time to say, right, what's the challenges you're facing and what can you learn? That was actually some of the feedback that we had. Why have you came along to the community call? And it was very much they wanted to listen and learn from other people and just say, this is the challenge I'm facing. Has anyone else managed to solve this? Because sometimes that is the case. One of the things I found, luckily for us, on the challenges that people were telling us about, none of them were a huge surprise. I mean, we obviously have ran activities before so that we know what our community's challenges are and what we're facing. But I thought having just this open call to hear about everything and anything, what on earth are people going to tell us and what are we going to have to look into for the future? But it was the same things we usually hear. So we had 13 groups, I should say. We split people up into smaller breakout groups to talk about the everything and anything, and reviewing the notes that people made. There was consistent threads across, not all, but a lot of the groups. There is lack of recognition and visibility of the hidden research labour that these people do. So it's that work that is essential for research quality, but it's undervalued. That's what we were expecting to hear. People also were talking just about NTOs that are not traditionally submitted outputs. They've mentioned the fact that they are both an opportunity as well as a source of frustration. What else did I want to say on that? No, I think that is all I wanted to say for that. But yeah, people were just coming along and they want to learn from each other cross-institutionally, and they're really looking for helpful, usable things.
And I think you're right. I think that sharing practice is really important. And we know, because we've talked to a lot of research managers and people who are in charge of RES submissions at the institution, the faculty and the school level, is that how they interpret that guidance, which, took 11 days in 2021, and the differences between 2014 and 2021 were smaller and less than the differences between 2021 and 2029. So I can only imagine how long it's going to take to read the ref guidance for 2029 when it comes out in the spring. And so when they interpret what a guidance means and what it means for them and their institution about actually, logistically getting a submission together, there's huge variations. I mean, James, we were talking to Jen from the University of Southampton last week. Call out to Jen. I'm a big fan of Jen. And she was saying that it was really important because, even amongst their small group of universities who are not competing, they're literally just sharing information to make sure that they both read the guidance in the right way.
Yeah, and I found that interesting because I guess one of the unintended consequences of the ref is that it has created communities. Like one thing I was reflecting on the fact that we even created a community call, and some people might be thinking, why does the ref need a community call just for its kind of administration and interpretation? But it has in an unintended way done that. And yeah, so people like Jen who kind of run the ref at our end have informal networks of people in other institutions, usually in local areas, through contacts, just being just to share and ask questions because they feel they need a space to do that. And the thing that makes me think about is there may be people at other institutions who are less well connected or smaller institutions where they just don't have those networks. And if our community call can fill some of that space that might for other people be filled by people they just know, conferences like ARMA, which we're going to this year, which is exciting, to do something about hidden ref. But if we can kind of fill that space for those who don't have those contacts, and then maybe enable them to have those contacts so they can go on, then they can build those sub-communities they need. But yeah, it's just such a big thing that it needs communities. People need to be able to work together in the context of competition, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether you know, James, but actually one of the people who came along to the community call is someone whose institution is much smaller, and this is going to be their first time of submitting to the ref. So providing the space for them who's just brand new. So they've actually reached out to us for us to run an NTO workshop for them, as well as them coming along to our community calls, and just they're looking to us to teach them about the ref, which I think is really nice and just echoes what you're saying about the importance of bringing people together in this way.
Mm-hmm. And then it's a way of leveling the playing field. I mean, that is one of, that was one of the concerns during the pause, is that we're going to create this dual kind of ref system, those ones for one group of universities, which is going to be different for one of smaller universities that are more specialized, etc. And we've talked about that in the past, how that perhaps was a good or a bad decision. But again, because we've got such different interpretations of guidance, I've been sitting with our ref manager and our DRE manager and I say, what does that line mean? And they have said in more than one occasions, I don't know. And so, sharing practice and talking about how we do it is a really important way of leveling the playing field, working together so that they're not actually in competition. It's making sure that everybody interprets it the same way, that the submissions are more alike for the matter of comparison and evaluation when it comes to the ref process itself, and that everybody has the right type of, the same chance to perform well and to put their best foot forward for their institution and their unit of assessment as possible. And the community calls, I guess, was the first thing in the spectrum that I've seen formally that's put forward that allows that kind of sharing of practice across all universities, across all contexts, and more importantly, outside of these informal networks that we know already exist.
Yeah. So, Lyndsey, one final question on the community call then. So they want us to do it again. Some of them want to use it as a platform to then say, hey, can you come and do a NTO workshop at our place? Some people clearly don't like breakout rooms. Some people do, whatever. But what do people want us to do next? Where are we going with this as a kind of a concept? What do we take from our community that we can build in?
So like I mentioned, we have had a bit of a debrief on this this morning at our regular meeting. And like I said, luckily, the plan that we came up with, we don't feel like we need to change all that much. What we are planning to run it again, very similar to what we did this time. Obviously, let people know more about what to expect. And can you tell I'm not prepped for this answer, James?
That's fine.
We would actually really like to, people are telling us that they want to share from each other, right? So we put them into breakout room and then we get them to do a share out, and then we are pulling that information together to put on the website or a blog post and send out to people. But one of the other ways I think that's going to be really good to help people learn from each other is actually have people speak to the full community call audience at the community call. So we're just in the early stages of deciding what to do with this, but some sort of share out, maybe like lightning talk things, just so you can come along and say, hey, this is what I want to tell you about based on the previous community call that I heard people talking about, or the challenges they've heard in other parts, or just something that they think is important for people learning about ref and the tricks of the trade with submitting NTOs. Come along and share them.
But crucially, for those who did come to the community call and are listening to that going is this going to turn into a bunch of presentations? Clearly, what we don't want to do is turn it into a bunch of presentations. So it's not going to become like a mini, seminar every month or so. We've still got to keep the community focused and the kind of share outs being something that people clearly want to do, but we can't turn it into a massive slide deck. That'd be well boring.
Yeah. No, thank you for clearing that up, James. Yes, the community call is for the community to then. So I think that we had people break out into breakout groups for 25 minutes. They seem to really like that. We got a lot of information out of that from the discussions as well. So I think that's something we want to keep. And then that kind of first half hour, we can talk about different things of what to do and sharing. But yes, We're not going to make you come along and sit and listen to, I mean, at the festival, how many lightning talks did we have in a row? We had about 16 in a row, which was great, but it was too much. And we're not going to do that at this either.
I guess if people have ideas for the community call, they can put it in the comments behind, or they can email us on, what is the email address, James, again?
wtref-hiddenref.org. I'll get it right at the end of the episode. It's fine.
Or put it in the comments below. We can also find it there. But yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Gemma and Lyndsey. Lyndsey, one more question before we go. So when is the date of the next community call?
So we're planning to run these every 2 months, and it fits nicely that the next one is set for Tuesday, the 24th of March, 11 a.m. until 12 noon. We already have the details on our website, and if you head over there, there are some calendar links as well. You can click that and it easily adds it to your calendar so that you don't forget about it. If you do happen to forget about it, as long as you're following us by email or on LinkedIn or one of these other places that we share things, I'm going to keep telling you about it between now and then, and give you more information once we have decided exactly what it is that we're going to do at that call.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Lyndsey. Thanks, Gemma, for joining this episode of What the Ref. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with more chat about the ref and all the various things we're doing. We've got some interviews lined up, so hopefully we'll have more information about this soon as well. As ever, if there's topics you want us to discuss, please put them in the comments on YouTube, LinkedIn, or send us an email at wtref@hidden-ref.org. And we look forward to you engaging with us next time.
That sounds great.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.